Thank you guys for being here tonight. My name is Amber, and this is Jesse and our friend Morgan, and we're working together on our project, and it's called Famine and Poverty Around the World. We created the brochure I gave you guys is called Help Is Here, and we created our group to give people all the resources in one place. So there's a lot of food shelters and homeless shelters and things like that, and we put it into a brochure and a Facebook page so that everybody could find one location of what they needed. So if you guys know anybody that could use those resources, you're more than welcome to hand those out. And we put our email and our Facebook page, and it's Help Is Here at NY, and that will help you find other resources that might not be listed on the brochure. And now I'm going to let Jesse talk about the rest of our project.
Thank you. Hi, how are you guys doing tonight? Good? Good. Okay, we're just going to start off with some history around the world involving poverty and famine. And first and second century BCE, there were a lot of funny estates of house, like slaves, tenant farmers. Until the 490s BCE, however, the next law say that people in debt became slaves. And social reforms tried to improve the floor of food subsidies, land reforms, and public projects on land. And they fell dead. And also from 107 to 85 BCE in Rome, Marius opened army ranks to the landless that served 20 years. When they retired, though, they received the land that they worked on. Trade between countries has been really vital to the world's food. It introduced food all over the world and helped people with famine. Trade became popular in cultures throughout history. In 200 to 500 CE, Indonesian sailors brought bananas, chickens, and pigs to Africa. By the 4th century BCE, the soybean had been introduced to China, which the soybean is like one of the biggest things we use in food today. And many cultures survive and still thrive on trade today. In India, poverty and social systems based on wealth. By 600 BC, the largest revenue was highest taxes due to the high rate for peasants. By 5th century BC, the caste system ranked the Indian society based on careers and wealth, which is still effective today in India. And the wealthy had small nooks in their homes, so the servants could hide away if they came into a room. In Egypt, between 5500 to 3500 BCE, sharecroppers or previous landowners who had failed into debt worked for a new landowner. During this time, Atlantis became nomads, which they lived off the land and thrived off what they found. And Egyptians discovered the irrigation control, the flooding of the Nile River, and helped produce crops. Flooding was the number one cause of famine in this time. And the 2600s BCE, flooding caused the pharaohs to ration out food supplies to the citizens. And they created a credit system, which is still kind of used today for unused supplies. Okay, in Europe, from 600 to 1000 BCE, manorialism was common. Peasants would live on the work for the owner of the manor. And the peasants were attached to the land and could not leave, kind of like slaves in our history. And feudalism was common, causing land to be given in exchange for army protection, so the state protected them. And to our country, in the 1865 and 1918, overproduction caused farmers to run out of food. They overproduced on their food, and they thought it would bring in more money, but it actually didn't. And it caused them to go into debt. And bank policies drove farmers to the credit merchant and the crop lien system. Tenant farmers worked on other lands for cash payment. And sharecropping allowed a farmer to obtain food, clothing, and other necessities for life to survive. After World War I, high school dropout rates rose from 1 million to 3 million people. 20 million people existed on the border of starvation as families faced a severe shortage of housing, lack of schools, hospital, and food care facilities. And food rationing, recycling, and victory gardens were pushed. After World War II, unemployment dropped 10%, and certain consumer products made scarce by war, such as gasoline, coffee, steel, rubber, and all that kind of stuff, were rationed. During the Great Depression, unemployment reached a high of 25% in the country, and droughts ended agriculture and caused farmers to move to urban cities. By the end of the 1930s, though, 30% of the country was still living in poverty. And America's food banks. Food banks were established in 1967. They're still used today. Still one of the biggest organizations to help people with starvation and hunger today. They became really in demand during the 2007-2012 financial crisis. Companies like Feeding America, Red Cross, those kind of things. And according to feedingamerica.com, they've estimated to help nearly 14 million starving children in America. This is a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's pretty much saying you have to do these things in order to like reach your peak in life and help people. In statistics today, 1 in 6 Americans are struggling with hunger. Statistically, I doubt you guys are, but it means probably at least 3 of you at least struggling with hunger in this room. 46.5 million Americans, that's 15% of the country, are in poverty. 26.5 million of people ages 18, which I fit this gap to 64, are in poverty. And about 21, almost 22% of children are living in poverty today. And seniors, about 10% are living in poverty. This is the food insecurities today. Arkansas places in the top 10 states with food insecurities. That means we're in the top 10 states with food poverty. And other states like Mississippi and Texas, Alabama, those also rate, but it's kind of scary because Arkansas is number 2 out of 10 in the countries out of all 50. Under the supplemental poverty measure, there are 49.7 million people living in poverty today, out of the 365 million people that live in America. Also, a bill was passed this year allowing $4 billion cuts in food stamps to help with the national deficit. In 2009, poverty was at an all-time high of over 500,000 people in homeless shelters around the country. And that was just the percentage of poverty ages: 22% of all people under age 18, 13% of people 19 to 64, and 10% of people 65 and over. Here are some resources that are included in our pamphlets we handed out to you, such as the Havenwood Adult Education Center, the Church of the Nazarene, Community Cares. These are all places to go to or tell other people about to get help who are struggling with food and poverty. And that's a works cited page. And that's it. Thank you guys.
Okay, one of the groups that we helped, it's not on our pamphlet, but my family and I went and helped with the Camp Food Camp Out. I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but over the week from Thursday through Saturday in Fayetteville, there's a group called Life Source, and they're a group that helps with with food needs, and if you need financial help or things like that, they help with that as well. And what we did is we took donations and we packed boxes, sorted boxes, and we filled up a whole diesel truck full of food to go for people who need baskets for Thanksgiving meals, as well as to stock their pantry for the whole year. So there was a lot of people that would come, and we had, in one day, we saw at least 4 cars that brought trunk loads of food just to donate. So we had a lot of people in the community donating for Life Source and helping with that. And they also have, they're on our Facebook page, but they have a lot of events going on as well, like the Toys for Tots and things throughout the whole year. Because the biggest thing that we found is a lot of people are willing to help around the holidays, but as soon as the holidays are over, then everybody else kind of checks out. So these places that we have up here are always looking for volunteer help. So if you can think of events or things that you need to do or would just like to help volunteer, the best time would be anytime after the holidays, because a lot of people volunteer for the holidays, but they forget to volunteer after that. So if you guys need anything, these places, as well as giving them out for people who need it, could also use your help in donations or volunteer as well. We've also talked about all other statistics. Does anybody have any questions you guys can think of or any comments? Any? You guys are pitiful.
How come you don't have helping hands on it?
The ones that we have in our brochure are the ones that we contacted and reached out back to us. We had to have permission to put them in our pamphlet before we just used their information. And we do have them on our Facebook page, but as far as our pamphlet, they had not got back with us. But they are on our Facebook page. If you go to our Facebook page, at Help Is Here NWEC. It has a lot more of crisis centers and helping hands and Samaritan House and things like that that you can find on there as well.
Is the Compassion Center on there?
I do not know. If you guys have anything that you know of, any organizations, write them down and leave them, and I can go and check them out and see if we can add them to our Facebook page.
So your statistics are state, where some of your statistics were statewide. What are the statistics locally? Did you research those?
Our area, actually, I don't know the actual numbers, but I know our area has more organizations helping. And so our area actually is probably one of the better helped areas. The down south of Arkansas are the ones that are really, really struggling. And that's where I think most of our poverty numbers come into play. But the biggest problem in Northwest Arkansas is the fact that we have all these organizations, but people don't know about them. So that was kind of our point in making a brochure and a Facebook page. We could either give them to teachers or people who work with the public, as well as people we know in need, because their biggest thing is they might not have internet access or they might not have the resources to find these places. It took us weeks and weeks to find all this information. So if somebody needs help, they're not going to have the time or the resources to look for hours upon hours. And some places, we tried to find the ones that were most up to date, that had the most funding help, because so many of the problem we found was the places that we had, funding quits. So we didn't want to give people organizations to go to and then go there and not have anything to help them. And so these are places that have plenty of funding or help behind them to keep going. The biggest problem, like I said, around here is people don't know where to go, and then a lot of the organizations lose their funding, so they can't help people. You guys have good questions? Anything else?
So what are some things from a local standpoint here that we could do to reach out to other areas of Arkansas, like down south, where they don't have the resources or maybe not even the finances that we have locally here?
I know a lot of, like, so the organizations around here try to stay in this area, but the best bet would be trying to reach out to these places and seeing if they have other needs that they can help fill. So maybe starting an organization down south. The hardest part is getting funding for those things. So the biggest thing is people around here with Walmart and JB Hunt and all these corporations, they have all these people backing them. Other, towns don't have that. So you probably have to really reach out and try to find people to help you with funding as far as starting organizations in that area. A lot of these places, if you look, we have Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers, Bentonville area. A lot of them all do kind of the same thing, that we try to help people in our town or in our county. So that's the biggest problem, is we have all these places up here and nothing down there. So the biggest thing would be probably starting organizations like that down there, or reaching out to people here to help them. Usually the only time they help people out of our areas if we have natural disasters or fires, tornadoes, things like that, which is sad.
Out of these groups, what is their food supply like? Do they have an abundance? Is there a severe shortage with most of these groups?
I know all of them are constantly needing donations. Right now, I would almost put money on it that right now they're overflowing with food. During the holidays, people are constantly giving and helping. Their biggest shortage is after the holidays. Once February, March, April, all through summer comes around, people stop giving, stop doing food drives and things, so they lose a lot of their foods and stuff. So right now, a lot of the places are taking it, and a lot of the canned foods stay good. So things like canned foods and the ones that will last a long time are the things you should donate because they last. But the biggest thing will probably be getting schools and other places to continue to do food drives throughout the year. I know when I worked at a preschool, we tried to do food drives in the summertime or in the springtime because a lot of the food would last up until February, March, and then a lot of them would be in shortages. So just trying to get people to do constant food drives throughout the year would help. Okay, you guys have been a really good audience. Thank you for being here. If you, like I said, if you have any organizations or any questions, just write them down and we will add them to our page. Thank you.